So this is my new Sony A7C camera. I'm currently filming on my old Panasonic G80. For our friends in the US, that's a G85. It's a micro four thirds camera. This is a Sony full frame. I convinced myself that I needed a full frame camera. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm going to show you images from this camera against images from my older Panasonic. Let's see if I've made a couple of grand mistake. So I've been using the Panasonic G80 now, G85 for probably about a year, and it's only in the last 2 or 3 months that I've really got into doing more YouTube filming, because we've had time, because I've got no shows to go and produce. So it's been time to try and develop the YouTube thing a bit. And really, I knew very little about videography. I wanted to buy a camera that would get me started, and I decided that micro four thirds was the right way to go. I started off, with the kit lens that comes with the Panasonic, and this is a 12 to 60 f3.5 to f5.6. It's a good lens on the kit, but really 12 becomes the equivalent of 24mm on a micro four thirds with a crop factor of 2, and really it's just not tight enough for anything. Before I really knew what I was doing, maybe I'd convinced myself that what I needed to get was a prime lens, so I got the 25mm cheap prime lens, which is an f1.7. Again, completely useless for me, because I need something much wider angle than that. I eventually did arrive at the right lens, and I ended up with a lower 7.5, but with the crop factor on micro four thirds at 4K, probably I ended up around a 16mm equivalent on that lens. And so although it sounds like it's massively wide, and it is the lens that I'm shooting on now, it ends up being super wide, but not at 7.5. That would be completely ridiculous. So I decided I wanted full frame. I maybe decided I wanted the Sony A7S Mark III, the new camera from Sony, released really at halfway through 2020. But if my missus, sorry, we say my missus, if my wife saw me spending that money on a camera, she would kill me. And so that wasn't going to happen. And but I did manage to budget away a couple of grand for this A7C. So the kit lens is a 28 to 60. And of course, now I don't have to worry about equivalents, because it is a 28 to 60. I already know that a 28 isn't going to be wide enough. I've learned enough about videography to know that if I'm doing this kind of work in small spaces, I need something much wider than that. So I did my research, and I ended up with a Tamron 17 to 28. This is f2.8 constant aperture. That is going to be wide enough, and I think it's going to end up looking the same kind of width as this lens is on the micro four thirds. So what we're paying for on the Sony camera, well, on the A7 series, you're paying for this full-size sensor. So more light, better low light performance. It also ends up with much more resolution than the Panasonic micro four thirds. Now, I've never shot on a Panasonic expensive camera like a GH5, so maybe what I'm about to do is an unfair comparison, but I'm really comparing a camera system which cost me 800, 900 pounds to a camera system at 2.5 grand, which is as much money as I'm really prepared to spend on cameras right now. So if you want to see a comparison, that's coming up soon. So I've not had much time with this camera, but let me tell you about the things that I love on it from the get-go. Well, I love that. Of course, my Panasonic already does the flippy screen thing, but I couldn't bring myself to buy an A7 Mark III, the older version of this camera, because it can't do that. It can't flip the screen, and because I'm working on my own, I really felt that I needed that. The second thing I love is that, unlike my Panasonic, it has unlimited shooting time. So providing you've got battery, and providing you've got space on your SD, it'll just keep on filming without overheating. So this will shoot at 4K forever. So love that. the quality of the audio that I'm getting straight out the onboard mic on this is way better than the Panasonic. So the other thing I'm looking forward to is being able to shoot in the high dynamic range log type profiles. I'm going to be using HLG3 because Gerald Undone tells me that that's the best idea, but I will compare that to the other profiles. So I'll show you some footage, keep watching, and let's see if I made a 2.5 grand mistake. And but I'm going to enjoy having two cameras, I think. My big worry is that if I really like this camera, I'm going to be getting rid of the other one and ending up with two of the same, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So welcome back. I'm having a bad hair day, I think, and I've had a couple of days out. I've actually done a gig. I've done a promo video shoot with my band Genesis Visible Touch, and I'm using the Sony camera now, and I also took some photos of us shooting the gig on this as well. I'm going to play that footage at the end of this. My go-to guru for this stuff is Gerald Undone, so thank you, Gerald. You don't know me, I don't know you, but I think you're a genius, and I'll link to Gerald's stuff here. I'm not a videographer. This is all new to me, and obviously I work in the kind of area of event production and live shows, so I've got an eye for this kind of thing, but I'm an audio engineer at heart, and I've learned more about cameras in the last couple of months while I've been doing this YouTube channel than I have in the whole of my freaking life, I think. I've tested HLG, HLG3, S-Log2 and Cine, and I'm using the Leeming LUTs, so from Paul Leeming. I will link that below. That's the LUT pack that I'm using for the Sony A7C. I'm really happy with the results, particularly that I'm getting in HLG3, which was basically Gerald Undone's recommendation. This is a new thing in my life. I never knew I needed one of these. Can't quite understand why this freaking piece of card is more than $100 for my US friends, but it is. And I've been using this as well and understanding color accuracy. I will put up the vector scope. Hey, I didn't even know what a vector scope was until 2 months ago. I'll put up the vector scope of the color accuracy of this. I'm really impressed with the camera and what it's doing. I'm doing no grading to this other than maybe just a little contrast tweak to put the gray levels in the right place. Obviously applying the Leeming LUT for HLG3. Also, I've learned a lot more about setting the right zebra level. It's called exposing to the right, and there's something I've never heard of before. So you've got to expose quite hard, and there's some good guidance in Paul Leeming's lookup sheet. That's the lookup table that I'm living by. It's on my computer screen right now. I'll put this up for you so you can see it, and he gives his advice for how to expose the camera for the correct calibration to his LUTs. So set it up that way, use HLG3, and this really does look like my room looks. I mean, I'm really happy with the color accuracy. Now, I hope you like this more than the footage that we were introducing at the beginning on my Panasonic G85, because if you don't, then I've wasted over 2 grand. So I'm hoping that this is looking better. Now, one of the things I love about this, I'm using the Tamron 17-28 lens. I've got it wide open on f2.8, and I can do this, and I'll probably overexpose slightly, and it's eye tracking me. Now this has at f2.8 it has quite a narrow depth of field, and I would never have got away with it on my Panasonic camera. Just wouldn't do that. To get the wide angle lens that I'm using here, completely manual, it won't autofocus, so I would never be able to do this. I could only stay within a very narrow area, and I had to end up shooting in here on f5, but now I'm on f2.8, so the background should be a little bit more out of focus. And of course, it will go more out of focus as I do this. I'm really happy with that. I think it's really, really cool. Now, the only thing I have noticed is because it's so aggressively focused on face and eye tracking, that if I then hold this up, it probably won't focus on that, and unless I make it cover my face up, and then it will focus on it. So I need to be a little bit careful with maybe offering up a product, you know, I want you to look at this. It's not going to focus on it. It becomes incredibly reliable on focusing on products that I hold up. if I turn off the face priority and just let the general focusing focus on my face. So welcome back. I've now stopped down to f5, and so I've had to increase ISO to 1250. Oh, that's another thing I really like about this Sony. The ISO steps are really granular. You get really accurate adjustments of ISO. So if you are filming in video with auto ISO on to get exposure control, then it's really smooth. Whereas the Panasonic camera jumps in like 400 ISO, 800 ISO, you know, 1200 ISO. It's nasty jumps, where here it's really smooth. So I love that. I'm now filming with the normal autofocus, so I've turned off eye and face tracking. I can still do this, and I trust that the camera is focusing. I don't know, because I can't quite see the accuracy of the focus. And I think now probably it's a lot more reliable if I offer you something like this for it to focus on it, because it's not so addicted to my eye and face. Do it again. I mean, I think I can see this on the screen, and whoa, that's really very cool. I mean, even if I don't hide my face. So I mean, you just couldn't do this on the Panasonic camera. I mean, oh my gosh, I mean, this is let me just get the color board in and take that out. And I'm going to hold it really close and do it, and then take it out, and then do it, and then take it out. I mean, this is an interesting thing. Working, isn't it? I mean, I think that's worth a couple of grand. I just love it. I mean, these things are so expensive, but I really like that. That floats my boat, as we say over here in the UK. So I wanted to show you, just end up with a bit of footage from the show that I've been producing for the last 2 days. It was basically a promo capture. So the band are playing and being filmed as they play through, with a couple of very experienced and professional camera guys, way above my league to be filming this. But I produced this event, and this is what we captured on my new A7C with the Tamron lens. We're getting there slowly but surely.